Hello, 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 my friends. Caitlin here. And how do you deal with someone breaking your trust? This is a subscriber question from Anonymous, and they say, I recently found out a close family member told her friend a very big secret of mine that I had told her in confidence. It really didn't go over well, and I got very upset. So my question is, how do you deal with someone breaking your trust? This question hits close to home for me because of an experience I had with someone I consider to be a close friend. So I'm going to be relatively vague about the situation. But essentially, I had a friend who broke my trust by doing something that was wrong, kind of violating my privacy in order to find out some things because they thought that they were in the right. And then it kind of started a chain of events that messed up a lot of things for me, for other people in my life, and was just incredibly upsetting because I was just taken out of the whole situation. It was just like this friend felt that they knew what was best for me and kind of went along and did things in that mindset without ever coming and talking to me or anything like that. So I would say this experience was probably the most hurt and angry that I have ever been with another person in my entire life. And it took a lot to even get to the place where I am right now, which when I still think about it and even kind of vaguely talk about it, it still makes me a little angry. But I would say that with this time, I've been able to forgive this person, even if I haven't necessarily been able to repair the relationship. So for today, I wanted to talk about kind of my process of what I went through and how you, as a person who's had their trust broken, can kind of see the steps of what I did and what maybe you will also see in your life. So first, think about this in terms of stages of grief. You've got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. So you'll grieve this loss and this friendship, and you'll cycle through the stages of grief just like any other loss. And it's not just like you start at denial and you end in acceptance. Someone once gave me the example of grief being like on a rough sea where you're kind of going up. You've got the sine wave of grief. So you've got, high highs and low lows. But basically the idea is that with any grief, it will take time. Something that also really helped me was to write down my feelings. Writing is so important because writing it down helps you work through your feelings. So I personally sat down and wrote a letter of how my trust had been broken and why it hurt so badly and why I was angry at this person, and then gave it to them. I still think that that was the right thing for me to do because I am better in the written word than I am in spoken word. I had some people tell me that wasn't, really only one person tell me that wasn't a very good idea, and I still disagree with them, but you kind of have to do whatever works for you. So I do recommend writing, but you don't necessarily have to give it to the person, but it certainly is an option. Think about questions like, why did this break my trust? And what did I expect from this person, and how have they disappointed me? Another thing to consider is mediation, which is when you guys sit down and you have a third neutral party, the mediator, help you try to discuss in a relatively less emotional, less heated discussion of how you were hurt and what were the other person's reasonings behind what they did, that kind of thing. It was suggested for my friend and I to do mediation, and we did. It was, I think, helpful in some ways, mostly that I learned that this person really felt like they were in the right for what they did. It helped me, at least, it certainly hurt in the moment. There was a lot of crying and emotion in the mediation session, but I did come away with it knowing that this person felt a certain way and there was nothing that I could do to help them understand how deeply they had hurt me. So the best thing for me was to just walk away. Which brings us to the final point, which is that you want to work towards forgiveness, but know that it's not necessarily going to be easy and certainly isn't going to be immediate. So when someone has broken your trust, you tend to feel very out of control. So as you try to work towards a place of peace for yourself and hopefully forgiveness, ask yourself what would allow you to feel some more control. So for me, it was creating as much distance as possible. Now I still have to see them regularly, but I just kind of kept my space from them. And I also blocked them on social media. I've never blocked anyone before except in this situation, just because I didn't want to see anything about them. I didn't want them to be able to know things about me because that made me feel safer. It's really all up to you and what you feel like you need. You may not feel like you need distance or blocking on social media. In the moment though, as I was just beginning the process of healing, it really helped me feel like I had more control in a situation that really all control had been taken from me. Also, I'd really recommend talking with supportive friends. And I know if it's kind of a sensitive subject of, like say a secret came out and that's how your trust was broken, then you're like, well, I can't really share this secret with other people because that's the point of a secret. But I would say from personal experience in trying to bottle up these things because I didn't want all of my messy business out there for the world to know, really supportive friends are going to let you kind of talk vaguely about something. You can just say I was really hurt by this person because they told a secret that I had told them in confidence to someone else. A good friend is not going to be like, well, what was the secret? Honestly, it is a wound. It is a deep wound that this person has given you, whether they intended to or not, but it is still a wound and it takes time to heal. And even when it does heal, there's going to be a scar and maybe even lasting pain. But yeah, I'm sorry, Anonymous, that this happened to you. I know how deeply hurting this is. For me, I was able to forgive this person, but it's something that I had to forgive them in me because it was just hurting me to not forgive them. And really, it was just having time away from this person. Enough time passed and we sort of moved on to different parts of our lives, so I haven't seen this person in years. And having that distance is what allowed me to be able to forgive them and move on with my life. And I surely hope and I assume that they've also moved on with theirs. But I know in your situation, and I'm sure in many others, it was a family member that broke your trust. And obviously it's a lot more difficult to just, cut off a family member completely. But I hope that at least you can get some distance and some time for you to be able to heal and work towards at least some level of forgiveness. Well, thanks for the subscriber question. I've really been enjoying answering these more intimate questions because I'm always surprised that I seem to have life experiences that I can really give some advice from. So if you have your own question or video idea, it doesn't have to be a question. It can just be I want you to make a video about cats, which I'm always happy to do. Be sure to leave me a comment down below, or you can always fill out this super easy form on my website. Plus, if you haven't already, I don't know what you're doing, but make sure that you are subscribed and you've hit that notification bell so you know the moment there's a new video, and you can always see me on all these other social media sites. And I'll see you guys next Thursday. Bye!